Hola, hello, and bonjour, my beautiful animation fans. So yeah, it's been a hot minute since I've made a video. I'm finally into a two-bedroom apartment. I've been moving for the past week or so. Um, yeah, and I have a part-time slash full-time job depending on the week. So yeah, I've been a little busy, but that's beside the point. Anyway, this video is going to be about my opinions on art school and if you should go to animation school or if you should go to art school in general, because it is pretty expensive. There are upsides and downsides to going to an art school, and there are some alternatives that you might not have thought of. So, yeah, like excuse me, I can't talk. Like most of my videos, this one is very unscripted, and I'm just gonna be going off of just like a little prompt list thingy. Alright, so as you can see on screen, I'm animating something. It is for my boys meme from Ravenpaw. Um, because I think that Ravenpaw fits in pretty well with that sound. Okay, so art school. I did not go to an art school. I personally went to a community college with an art program. They are not known for their art program. It was not anything like that. First things first, any school with the word art or design in it is going to be much more expensive than a state college or a community college. Honestly, the big name schools like Ringling, I think is what it's called, um, and then CalArts, those guys, they're so expensive. I mean, yeah, CalArts has the biggest upside I see to CalArts is that you're out there in California and you are having teachers who are actually in the field, like animators and artists who are actually working in the field out there in California, and you can have an easier time finding what's it called, connections. But a huge downside to that is that it's extremely expensive. One semester at CalArts, before dorms, before classes, before supplies. By the way, those supplies can get expensive. Before any sort of meal plan or anything, is $50,000. $50,000 for one semester just to be accepted. That is a ridiculous amount of money. I'm not saying that CalArts is not a good school. I am saying that it is really expensive, and you will find a lot of the really big name schools are very expensive. There's a price tag that comes with the larger schools, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they are better than the other options. So, what are these other options if you can't afford to get into those schools, or if you can't get into those because you're not at the level yet? I've noticed that, like, I don't know, if you're like me, you're not the best artist, you're not the most professional artist, and you're trying to improve. But how can you improve when there's such a high standard to get in to learn more? Like, I would never be accepted into, you know, CalArts or, Ringling over in Florida because my quality of artwork is not good enough. And that's not a bad thing, it's just a fact that my artwork is not at the level that they're taking it. So, that's another thing you have to think about is if you'd actually be able to get into the school that you're trying to get into. Um, yeah, and some other options besides the big name universities is state universities. They often have art programs, or community colleges. That's what I went to. I'm going to make a video a little bit later about my experience with a community college art degree. Um, they tend to be much cheaper. And, price isn't the only thing you should be concerned with, but also, look at if you're able to, look at the artwork and the work that the alumni that are coming out of the school, look at what work that they're putting out, Most places will have a somewhere you can go and see the students' work and whatever they have made, and it shows you what kind of work what kind of things you'd be learning. There are things you can look up online, like on I forgot what it was called, Rate My Professor. There's Rate My Colleges, and they're for all sorts of different you can like get it rated for all sorts of different departments. If you're worried about the quality of the programs. When you're at the schools, if you're still in the visiting phase or you're visiting colleges, you could ask about the programs. You could meet some of the teachers. You could ask some of the current students how they feel about the art program. The point is that art school in college is not the only way to go. So it can be expensive, but I think that there are upsides to it as well. So wherever you get into, whether it be the big CalArts, which is really expensive and really selective, or even just like a community college or a state college art program, I think there's good things about going to school for art or animation. For example, you are on a time limit, and yeah, you could set time limits for yourself, but if you don't meet them, then there really wouldn't be many consequences. When you're in a school setting, it's so much more like it's at a pace, and you have to keep up with the pace, and it kind of forces you to work and learn how to work more effectively. Um, like I've said before, in my art classes, I was not the best artist. I was probably towards more of the bottom of the artists. And I improved greatly because I learned techniques and I learned craftsmanship from my teachers and the other students. And they helped me out a lot when I was trying to figure out how to get my projects done and also how to get them looking nice within the time limit that I was given. You'll learn a lot of things that you wouldn't be able to learn by watching YouTube videos, for example. Um, like there's just like little things, and plus you have the ability to ask the professor physically or talk to people directly. I mean, you can do this online as well, like talk to people about the arts and stuff, but it's so much easier to talk about stuff and give tips and advice and praise when you're with people physically. Yeah, so art school is great, but also there are downsides to it. It can be really expensive. It can be very selective. It's not a degree that you're going to get a job with. As hard as that sounds, I know that everybody wants to be an artist who makes money. And yes, you can learn how to make money through these colleges and stuff. And through your teachers, they can help you figure out how you can make money through your art. But your degree, it's not going to be a degree that will get you a stable job or a stable income. So you have to consider that when you think about getting a degree. For example, I got a degree in early childhood education that actually just got me a job a month ago in a preschool. And I have a certificate. I almost have a certificate. They canceled my last class. I couldn't get the certificate because they canceled my last class that I needed. Anyway, I wouldn't have gotten a job with my certificate. I just did it for fun and I just did it to learn. And I think that that was a good option for me. Everybody's options are going to be different. Like, okay, so there's Skillshare, which is, it's like much cheaper than college. It's like $10 a month. And there are so many different classes you can take to learn about different things, animation, art, character design, things like that. YouTube videos, honestly, you could watch YouTube videos and learn how to do some stuff. Go to a community center if you have one in your city or your town. go to a community center and see if there's any art nights, or like see if there's any sort of way that you could meet with other artists. You could set one up yourself too. Like, for example, a life drawing class. Oh, life drawing. That is one tip that I have to say is like amazing. It's a little awkward at first, but life drawing improves your art so quickly. I went from just using line art mostly in my drawings because we weren't allowed to use color. So I just used line art, and I was like, well, how am I supposed to make this look good? And after I went through a semester of doing life drawing, I knew how to shade, sort of. I'm still learning how to shade, but I learned about shading, I learned about depth, I learned about a bunch of different things that I would not have learned if I hadn't taken the life drawing class. And I loved it. It was so great. It was such a rewarding experience. Anytime you can draw from real people, not photographs, not videos, like real people, it's worth it because you see so much more when you're in 3 dimensions than you do when you're in 2 dimensions, even if it's a really nice picture. The person doesn't even have to be naked. They could be clothed, and you could draw them while they're clothed, just as long as they sit still. Or you could do still lifes, which is non-living things that you draw in real life. It's it's such a good way to learn about lighting and shading and depth, and it's really good type of thing to take to learn about. Well, you could even, if you don't want to get a degree, you could go to a community college and just take classes, like a spare class here or there about character design or life drawing or sound design, stuff like that. College is not the only option, and if you feel like you work better on your own, like you can set your own time limits, you can handle learning and knowing what you need to learn. That's the hardest part, though, is knowing what you need to learn. For example, in one of my classes, we learned about shapes for the first part in character design. Um, I didn't really know a whole lot about shapes. Like, we had to make our characters with just shapes in the first week, and then we could start adding stuff. But there's a lot of little things that you might not know you need to know. And if you do like Skillshare or talk to other artists that already like know, I mean, other artists are gonna know stuff different than you do, and you're gonna know stuff different than what they know. So it's a rewarding experience is to learn from other people, and it doesn't necessarily have to cost money. Because I know, like, I know this video is really rambly, but like, art school is not the, tell all, like, oh, this is the best thing for you. No. And also, another thing that a lot of people don't talk about is the people that go to art school. The kind of people that go to art school, not all of them, obviously, but like, I've met several people, and I wasn't even in an actual art school. I met several people in the arts department that just thought they were the best. They were the top cream of the crop, like, and they were very cocky about their art, and they were very snobbish whenever you asked for any sort of directions or any sort of help, because they thought that they were better than you, and they took any chance they could to point out how they were better than you, and they were just the stereotypical art kid, and I didn't like that. I didn't like how some of the other students acted towards me, but that's something you might have to worry about in art school. Yeah. So this video is getting kind of long, so I'm going to just probably leave it here. I can't think of anything else. Like I said, so just to wrap up, art school can be really expensive, but it's worth it because you get physical experience with timing and learning about different things you wouldn't be able to learn online because You can physically ask the professor stuff and you can get feedback directly in live. Then also it can be really expensive and there can be snobby people that go there, so that's the downside. And it might be really exclusive. That's another downside. Skillshare teaches good things. You could go to your local community center or your local community and try to set up a sort of art class there, or an art way to meet up artists, a way to meet up with artists in real life there. I mean, I know COVID is making everything difficult, but still. Really just being able to contact other people and bring other people into your learning experience will make your art so much better, because you don't know what you don't know, and I don't know what I don't know, so it's not, you know what I mean? Yeah. All right, well, thank you guys for listening. I'm sorry this video was so rambly. Let me know if this actually helped you. I'm hoping that it helped at least one person. All right, well, I love you. I love you and goodbye.